He was renovating a guest house for his brother's return from military service, until a neighbor in a pink velour tracksuit called the cops. What started as paint and permits turned into a false accusation, a community reckoning, and one man's quiet stand for dignity, truth, and home. This is the powerful story of how Aaron fought back without ever raising his voice. Aaron Washington had never been the confrontational type. He believed in preparation, in calm, in facts. Life had taught him that patience often did more than anger ever could. So when his younger brother Devin, a combat medic in the Army, called to say he'd be coming home for good, Aaron made a promise to give him a space that felt like peace. At the back of Aaron's property sat a rundown guest house, 400 square feet of sagging siding and dusty windows. It had once been used for storage, then left to rot. But to Aaron, it was the perfect place for his brother to breathe again. It just needed a second chance. Like Devin, he took vacation time, bought paint, ordered new windows, and salvaged flooring. The plan was simple: repaint the structure a vibrant blue with white trim to match the accents of his main house. He'd already checked the HOA handbook, read it cover to cover, as long as he wasn't expanding the structure or changing the footprint. He didn't need HOA approval. The colors were within range. The permits were filed. Everything was in order. On day 3 of the renovation, the trouble arrived in a pink velour tracksuit. "Excuse me," a sharp voice called from the sidewalk. Aaron turned, brush in hand. Paint-speckled gloves still wet. Patricia Harrington, 60s, tightly curled hair, matching pink headband, a permanent scowl etched into her expression like it had been there since 1975. Her arms were folded with the intensity of a sitcom villain. "What are you doing to that building?" Aaron smiled, wiped his gloves, and walked over. "Renovating the guest house. My brother's coming back from service. Wanted to make it livable." Her eyes narrowed. "Did you get approval from the HOA for that color?" "It's within approved tones," Aaron replied, keeping his tone steady. "And the structure's grandfathered in. I checked the bylaws. I'm on the HOA board," she said, stepping closer like her title was an arrest warrant. "And I've never seen anything about this project in our minutes." "I didn't need board approval," Aaron said, pulling out a printed document from the folder resting on a nearby toolbox. "Here's my city permit, the HOA bylaw section, and confirmation from the city inspector, all within code." Patricia didn't even look at the paperwork. "I'm calling the president," she snapped. "This doesn't feel right. And quite frankly, I don't like the energy." Aaron blinked. "The energy, yes," she said. "You're being defensive. I'm answering your questions." But she was already dialing. Aaron stepped back, heart beginning to drum, not from guilt, but from familiarity. He'd seen this before. The escalation, the condescension, the pretext of concern that always seemed to follow men who looked like him. Then he heard it. "I may have to call the police," Patricia muttered. "He's acting suspicious." Aaron pulled out his phone. Hit record. "Ma'am," he said clearly, "you're making a false report. I am on my own property, performing a legal renovation." She didn't flinch. "He's becoming aggressive." She told the dispatcher, "I feel threatened." The words hit harder than they should have. Not because they were true, they weren't, but because of what they could become. For a black man in America, those words weren't just dangerous. They were deadly. Aaron stepped further back, still recording, still calm. Minutes later, help arrived, but not from law enforcement. Marcus Chen, Aaron's neighbor, came jogging over from 2 houses down. His sleeves were rolled, hands stained with sawdust from whatever woodworking project he'd been in the middle of. "Everything all right?" Marcus asked, scanning the tension. "She's accusing me of building illegally," Aaron said. "Despite evidence, despite permits. I saw your plans last week," Marcus said. "We talked about them. I even called the city inspector on your behalf to double-check. Everything's legit." Patricia didn't like being contradicted. "I think he's using someone else's permit," she said, doubling down. "That structure might be stolen. My cousin had something like that years ago. Stolen, Aaron said. Incredulous. You think I dragged a building onto my property? That's when the police pulled up. 2 officers. Calm. Professional. They approached carefully, eyes moving between the 3 of them. Aaron, as always, remained calm. He handed over his ID, the permits, the documents, and most importantly his phone. Playing back the recording, Patricia was still talking, still pointing, but the officers had heard enough. Ma'am, one said, looking Patricia in the eye, this gentleman is within his rights. Everything here checks out. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. You can't just build things and paint them like a playground, she snapped. You can, the officer replied, if you follow the law, which he has, and your call to 911. We're going to log that as a false report. Patricia's cheeks flushed, but she said nothing more. She turned, and with the stiff shoulders of someone deeply unaccustomed to being wrong, walked away without apology. Aaron exhaled. Marcus clapped a hand on his shoulder. You handled that better than I would have. I didn't have the luxury of reacting differently. Aaron said quietly. Word spread fast. The neighborhood watched the video. Some residents messaged Aaron privately, expressing quiet outrage. Others stopped by. Mrs. Mahone Kaplan brought him muffins. A teenager offered to help finish the trim. And Patricia. She watched from her window, every day, silent. Then, the day arrived. Devon stepped out of a dusty sedan, uniform still pressed, bag slung over his shoulder. Aaron met him halfway down the driveway. Welcome home, Aaron said, tears threatening. They hugged, long, quiet. The guest house was perfect. Devon walked in and just stood in the doorway, staring at the blue walls, the clean fixtures, the sun coming in through the new windows. You did all this, he asked. Aaron nodded. Every inch. That night, the neighborhood gathered. No official event, just people showing up. Marcus brought ribs. Someone set up string lights. Laughter floated through the air like healing. Patricia stood at the edge of her driveway, arms crossed, then slowly lowered. Her eyes met Aaron's. No smile, but a nod. Small, brief, and maybe just maybe a start. Because the truth was this, the guest house wasn't just for Devon. It wasn't just about paint or permits. It was about presence, about standing firm in the face of control masked as concern, about choosing patience when provoked, facts over fear, and most of all, about claiming space with dignity, with community, and with love.